put it in a file and send it.
So make sure you have
Oh yeah,
your render and then the reference at the top right or top or whatever. Just so the reference and the render will be in the same page.
the reference is from that whole that cheat sheet you gave us.
Yeah. So like
So just
take a screenshot of like
yeah.
the one that you're using. Yeah. And then just
So I
paste it
haven't.
with the render.
Do you mind if you just give me a minute to do that too?
Not a problem, man. It's okay as long as it's within this class.
Yeah, for sure. It's already done.
Sounds good. I gotta go pull out those examples again. That way people would know. Hi everybody. Just letting people come in here and then we can get started. For now, for those who are here, just have a look at what I'm sharing there on the screen. That's just an example of one of the renders slash screenshots of the reference that I'd like you guys to put together. So just render and then screenshot of the reference somewhere in the top right, top left, bottom right. Up to you how you want to go ahead and arrange it, but something like this, just uh, very easy to sift through.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Here. Yeah, here today.
Yes, I'm here, sir. I'm just snipping.
Hello. I just got there. Internet troubles.
Hey, Harold, I just got in here. Yeah, I was making good time. I was going to be about 5 minutes late. And then I'm like 2 minutes from home. Somebody swerved intentionally into a puddle to drench me. Yeah, there's no traffic anywhere, nothing on the road, nothing to dodge. He did it intentionally just to soak me. So, no, nothing. No, I took the full brunt of it. I haven't gotten that drenched since the time I saw the guy doing it and got in front of the baby carriage to block the kid. It was like 20 below that day. No, well, it wasn't 20 below. It was like 5 below, so it was cold enough that it would kill, like not kill the baby, but really be bad for the baby. So I saw this lady with her baby standing there waiting for the bus, and this guy's coming to swerve into the gutter, and I'm like, that ain't happening on my watch. So, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's why I'm not. Yeah, yeah, well, that was the previous. That was years ago. But this time, I took the full brunt of it, and I'm just like, I gotta get out of these clothes. I'm late. I'm not gonna like. What's a few more minutes? So
Isn't that good? Isn't that good luck when you get hit by a car like that?
I don't know. I'd rather get hit by the water than the car. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah, I'll take it. But that was just like icing on the cake today. So. But I'm here now, ready to go.
What was the?
I'm sorry.
What do you mean the lighting stuff we were doing last class? That was awesome. Well, I mean, only practice, I guess. Like, I mean, I couldn't figure out. Oh yeah, well, if you want a question, I don't know if we really ran into how to build a softbox, but I figured it would just be a box of something. Oh, yeah, I couldn't really. I couldn't figure that out. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. That would be good for shadow lighting, right? Make it control the rays and beams and stuff. Uh, Okay, that's kind of cool.
I just realized my Yeti was muted the first half. Now I have to repeat everything I said. No, just kidding. So yeah, so just to do a quick recap here. Bump information. This includes displacement and normal maps. The normal maps is represented with 3 channels, X, Y, and Z. And it looks like this, okay? And then a height map really is a black and white map that only has 3 values, gray, white, white, black, and anywhere in between. Okay, and it's only bumping out. It doesn't bump out and bend. Okay, but it really is, the displacement is the superior map out of the 3. And then bump is looking like a displacement map because it's also black and white, but it's mostly gray because its effect is very subtle. So you can see here, this is the bump map, this is the displacement map, and then this is the normal map. Okay, 3D artists always combine displacement and normal map. Okay, I probably wouldn't say all the time, but most of the time they would, or displacement and bump. Okay, to punch the details even further. Okay, so then you have the strength of the displacement map, because the strength of the displacement map changes the silhouette, and then you have either a normal map or a bump map to push the microsurface details on the object. And then here are the third-party baking utilities. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an exercise. If there's no questions, we're gonna do the exercise. So I'm gonna go to the chat there and share share some of the height example assets. Now my mic is like turned on. I'm like so weird about my mic. So let's have Maya open. So in the height examples, okay, we're just gonna check it out. Okay, so we have the hand high and hand low. We're gonna generate normal maps, and we're also gonna generate a height map as well, or bump information with these 2 guys. So I'm gonna download the hand low. Just replace this guy. And then I already got the hand high, so it's okay. We're good there. So if you open hand low, I'm gonna go ahead and open that. Import hand low. Okay, so here's the hand low, and I'm gonna go ahead and open my UV editor. And I should have some sort of UVs. They're not the craziest UVs, to be honest. They're just... it's just the hand cut up like this. So here's the palm area. Okay, and then this is the back side. Okay, so nothing crazy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply a shader to this. Let's assign an AI standard surface. Okay, and let's call it hand. Okay, let's increase the roughness to 1, and then reduce the color to maybe like 0.5. So real small. Okay, we're gonna unlock the normals as well. So this is one of the things that you have to do before you export it. So unlock go to mesh display, unlock normals, and then you can average the normals or you can soften the normals. Up to you. Okay, so now it's ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and export this from here. And we're gonna call this hand. You know what? Let's just replace hand low. Or let's go into temp. Hand low. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. So I'm gonna fire up my substance painter here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and import it in there. And you guys can see how we're gonna go ahead and generate the stuff. I mean, you've done this before, so really a lot of it is just review. But we're gonna show you how to export these guys a number of ways. So temp, let's go to our hand low. Awesome. Let's do 2048, OpenGL, compute time space per fragment. So we found our hand low. Okay, hit OK. Awesome. So here's our object. Let's change the color of the HDRI, and also let us bake our maps. So going to our bake mesh maps here, we're gonna choose 2K as our output size, dilation width, the way it is, 32. This time we're gonna use a high definition mesh. Okay, so in this particular section here, we're gonna go ahead and click on this little document icon and look for our hand low, the one that we exported. Hit open. Oh, sorry, not hand low, hand high. Downloads hand high. OBJ. So let's get rid of this one. Okay, anti-aliasing 2x2. If you can do 4x4, obviously that's the best. And then let's make sure all of this is turned on. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit bake selection. Let's look at some of the artifacts. So you can see a lot of these little holes and stuff like that. You see all these like little spots in here. This is actually perfect to show an example of max frontal and rear. So if you're looking at this, you're seeing these kind of like little bumps. Those are just artifacting, meaning the influence of the... Okay, so maybe I should do an explanation how this works. So if you go here into your bake mesh maps, there is this max frontal distance, and right here, max frontal distance value of 0.01. Usually if the low res is sort of just floating above the high res, let's just say this is the low res, and the high res is just like within this, kind of like this. Okay, or the high res is just above the low res, like that. Then you have to adjust the generation of the normal map distance. So the max frontal distance, meaning from the surface of the low res and out, would be the max frontal distance, and the maximum back distance would be from the surface and then inwards. Okay, so currently we've got in our settings max frontal distance of 0.1, max rear distance of 0.01. So frontal, the yellow part, okay, we're gonna go and increase that to, let's just say 0.0, or you know what, let's just increase it to 0.1, see what happens. Okay, and then we could even make this smaller by adding another 0 in here. You know, you could do that. Okay, so let's see what happens if I go ahead and bake select textures. Okay, so we have a different kind of artifacting now, right? You can see here. Okay, right? So by changing some of those parameters, we're getting a different baking result. But let's just try 0.001 on 0.01 and then max frontal distance of 0.05. Okay, and let's go ahead and bake. Select the textures. Okay, so less artifacts. I don't see any of the holes. Maybe there's some here. Okay, so far it's super good. What we could do is lower the negative. So, I mean, it's only one right there. So nothing in between here. So let's go ahead and make this by half. So 0.005, or let's just say 0.008. See what happens. So this is what max frontal distance is and max rear distance based on the placement of the high res on the low res, or vice versa, low res on the high res. 0.008. See what that looks like. It's a little bit smaller. So let's do 0.005. Or you know what? I think I'm going the opposite way. I think I need to go 0.02, maybe? I need to go up. Yeah, there you go. So now it's gone. So that means that minimum was too low. We need to go higher a little bit. And now all those artifacts are gone. Now it's just one clean looking mesh. Right? So if we were to sift through our mesh maps, you're not seeing any artifacts anymore. Okay, and it's just one clean normal map all the way around. Position, thickness. Okay, very minor stuff like this. Okay, you know, like this, very minor. No artifacting. This is common because there's a seam there. See, that's why you try to hide the seams, because normal maps not really friendly with seams. World space normals, ambient occlusion, but the ambient occlusion looks really good, really clean. Right, so on and so forth. All right, so now we've got, you know, this guy. So our low, like without the bump map, it's gonna look like that. Right, so this is with the, sorry, not bump map, without the normal map, it's gonna look like that. Okay. Now what you could do actually is export the mesh maps. So you can use the mesh maps as a means to generate other maps, such as a height map or a bump map. So let's try to do that. So the quickest way to export all your mesh maps would be to go File, Export Textures. Going to the output settings. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and find our it's gonna be called mesh maps. It's gonna be called mesh maps right here. So in our output templates, you're gonna see mesh maps, and this is what it's gonna export: normal, space normal, ID, AO, curvature, position, thickness. Okay, so if you were to go to your settings and you're gonna choose an output directory. Okay, so let's say mesh, select this folder. You're gonna choose in your output template the mesh maps. Okay, and then you're gonna choose TIFF as your file type. If you'd like, you can turn them all into 16-bit. Not really necessary, but it's good for a normal map. Size always 2K or 4K, but 2K is good. And then infinite dilations. So here, this is going to be the name of your mesh maps. So based on the shader that we made, hand underscore shading engine, and then underscore ambient occlusion, curvature, ID, etc., etc. Let's go ahead and export that. So that's how you export your baked mesh maps. So you now are in here. You can check out the maps. Okay, so you can use your curvature as your bump information if you want. It's black and white or displacement. Okay, this is your thickness map. This is your world space AO curvature. Okay, so that's mesh. Okay, so let's just say like you're gonna go ahead and texture this guy right here, and then let's give him like some subtle say like bump details. So let's create a fill layer, and let's only include the height. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and left click and drag a procedural, a 3D Berlin noise on the uniform surface. Okay, so here I made this skin pretty bumpy, and we're gonna turn this into a height map. And then you've seen me do this with masks, but here you can actually change your levels on the actual layer itself. And let's go ahead and choose the affected layer, which would be height. And we can go ahead and make this a little bit more subtle. Oh yeah, thanks, Alejandro. Let me make sure I put you in the attendance first. Okay, so base color height. That's normal height and the mesh. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and export the textures. When it comes to height maps are, if possible, make them really high res. So without getting into it too much, usually your output template would be a PBR metallic roughness, and you'll have a height information, which would be, say, for example, I chose a output template window. I'm lagging. Output templates and then PBR metallic roughness, and then in here you can see that there's a height option. We could make a custom one like this, if you like. I made a custom one like this, no emission. Anyway, what you could do is make a custom one. Let's make a copy of this PBR metallic roughness. let's call it PBR. PBR metal ref height only. Okay. Let's get rid of the normal, metallic, roughness, base color, and we're gonna turn this into a TIFF, and we're gonna do 32-bit floating points, and it's gonna be say height. Yeah. Let's see what this looks like. And let's go ahead and choose this PBR height only. The same settings for everything. Okay, export. And let's see what this looks like. There it is. So this is like the height or the bump. Okay, so this is the height or bump. Okay, mostly gray because of just the subtle bump detail on the hand. Okay, but it's 32-bit, meaning it's pretty high res. Why it needs to be high res is because there just needs to be a lot of information when it comes to the gray value. That way, the 3D package can see the subtle differences between the heights. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use curvature as our height map. What you could do actually is you can go ahead and convert this normal map into a height map using another program. You can also use ZBrush to generate high resolution and low resolution meshes into a height map as well. So there's techniques for that too. But we're gonna use our SE curvature as our height map, height map. And then this one's gonna be our bump map. This is our normal map. So we're gonna go here in Maya, and we're gonna go ahead and attach the displacement map first. So the displacement map is like the most important thing, and I want to show you that this is the most important part of this learning, because applying a normal map, you already know that. Applying a displacement map, not yet. So first of all, we have to make sure that the mesh subdivides like this, but only in render, not in preview. So if I'm pressing 3 on my keyboard, I'm able to toggle to the smooth version. Okay, if I press 1, then it'll go out of that smooth version. Okay, so this is just but a toggle. 2 is the cage, 3 is the preview result. Okay, so to turn on the smoothing when rendering, okay, and subdividing when rendering, that will be under the object shape attributes. So select the hand, go to its hand attributes, then go to Arnold. Okay, the Arnold drop down. And then you're going to go to the bottom and then go to the subdivision. So currently it should be at none. Okay, and so what we have to do is switch this to Catmull-Clark. Okay, so Catmull-Clark smoothing. So every time you apply a smooth modifier, right, that smooth modifier will ask you what type you like. Okay, we're usually either using Maya Catmull-Clark or we're using the open subdiv Catmull-Clark. In this case, it's a more generic type, either linear or Catmull-Clark. We like Catmull-Clark, just looks more dynamic. And then the amount of iterations, meaning is the amount of subdivisions. So usually I like to work with 2 for now, but if you want to do more, you can certainly do more. 3 or 4 is usually good for portfolio. 5 is like you got really good performance. So 3 or 4 is good for portfolio, but for now, for examples, we're just going to do 2 or 3. Let's do 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and displace this. Okay, and we're going to displace it in just a little bit. We're also going to turn on our auto bump. So enabling your subdivision under the Arnold dropdown. You have your sub dropdown subdivision, increase the iterations to 3, and enable your auto bump in the auto bump sub dropdown. Okay, so let's go ahead and light this quick. So let's add a cylinder. Let's add a plane. Okay, and then let's go ahead and create a light. And then let's make it kind of large. So I'm gonna make a soft box for you there, Nico.
Thank you.
So it's got to be big though, like this. And we're gonna increase its exposure to like 10, maybe. We'll see. And then let's try to render this to see what this looks like. Seems like it's not strong enough, so let's just try to go with 15. Increase the samples a little bit. And there it is. So you can see that the shadows are very soft. Let's change this to like a 2K square. So you can see here that like the mesh is subdividing. Okay, it's subdividing 2 or 3 times. And you can see it's really smooth, but in the viewport, it's not smooth. So now when we apply the displacement on there, it's going to, the displacement is going to be read by the shader, okay, by the shading engine. And then it's going to subdivide on a render. Okay, it's going to look like it's high res. So let's go ahead and get out of here. So here, as you can see, it's not subdivided. So let me just delete the history here. Let's go to our hypershade. And so here's our hypershade right here. Let's select our hand shader for those who want to see visually. Here's what it looks like. Let's go get our hand shader. Let's select the input and output connections. Okay. Now, when we're connecting our normal map, what we usually do is we connect it through here, through the normal camera. When it comes to displacements, we connect it not on the shader, but on the shading engine. So you can see here, if you select the shading engine in your attribute editor, you have your surface material, which is your actual shader. And then there's a volumetric material, and then there's the displacement material. Okay, and then we connect our map on this displacement material. But don't worry, it's easy. Okay, all you have to do is left click on the good old checkered icon, and then you get the render node connection prompt. Just choose file. Okay, and then the tree gets created for you. Okay, so select your file now, the file node that's been created, you know, connected to a converter, which is the displacement shader. And then then that is connected to the shading engine. Let's go ahead and select the browser. Let's go look for our, let's see, curvature TIFF. Okay, our color space will have to be raw, okay, because it's a black and white image. Okay, let's go ahead and disable our TX converter because it's going to convert for us. So I always lose this, you guys, every time. From what I know, it's in probably Arnold renderer. Textures, auto convert. So use existing. So we're gonna get rid of this auto convert textures to TX. actually, what we're going to do is we're going to convert our own TX by going to Arnold, Utilities, TX Manager. So you get your TX Manager right here. So here's the curvature TIFF that we worked with. Let's go ahead and create a TIFF file for this. Texture, scan attributes, blah, blah, blah. Create TX for selected. Awesome. Created it. Sweet. Let's go to our render now. And you'll see here it's gonna look bananas. Boom. Now it looks really puffy. Okay. But we're gonna go ahead and change this. So this is just straight up, we're just connecting the displacement. Okay. And you're gonna get all these like micro bumps because of just the way the curvature is looking. It's got that like micro bump detail on there. Okay, so there it is. So we're going, it's pretty puffy. So let's take a screenshot of this. Okay, minimize that. Okay. Now let's go back to our hand low shape. This time we're going to add a bound padding of 1. So meaning, because 0 is bound padding infinite, meaning it can just go off forever. Okay, so there is a bound padding of 1. So you don't want it to puff up to infinity. Usually it will if you left it at 0. If you left the bound padding at 0. So you can see there, it's just less puffy now. So it's going from that. Oh, it's mostly the same. Okay, good. That's fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the scalar value from 0 to 0.5. Okay. And why the scalar value is at 0.5? Because its midpoint or its 0 point is at half. So meaning 50% gray. If your scalar value is at 0, meaning there is no depth value, but rather it's like the bump starts at absolute black, meaning 0, black, black, black. And then it'll go upwards based on how high your white value goes. So by choosing gray as your neutral value, it will either, when it becomes black, then it'll dip. And then when it becomes white, it'll puff up or bump up. So here we go. So we're going from here. Just take progressive screenshots like this. Let's render it one more time. And then there it is. So this should be your actual map if you were to connect a displacement on your object. So you can see this is supposed to be like a really low res object, but because you're using a displacement map, then you're able to create, you know, a high resolution detail on the hand object itself, without quote unquote modeling more subdivisions. Okay, same thing with our normal maps. You can have an object subdivided. So I can go ahead and disconnect this so you can see the difference between the two. So this is the really puffy version with the scalar value of 0. This is at 0.5. Okay, so this is the original hand. So I'm gonna let that render. You can see how you can see the original size, right? It's going like that. It's really affecting the silhouette, but you can see all that detail just all of a sudden gets added to the mesh. Okay, so that's the original. And then let's try connecting the normal map. So AI normal map. Let's add the AI normal map, move the out value to the normal camera, add a file texture, connect the file out color to the input. Let's locate our normal map. So you can see how quickly you can literally do this. Make sure this is raw. And so probably going to invert the Y. I'm not really sure whether we should do that or not. But let's go ahead and convert our TX. So Arnold Utilities TX Manager. Let's find our normal base TIFF. Awesome. Let's create a TX for that. We can remove. Actually, no, we just keep it. Okay, so let's go ahead and render this out now with the normal map. And there's the normal map. Okay, so no inverting Y. So it's because it looks. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens without the Y being inverted first. Oh yeah, it looks pretty good. So there's your normal map, and then there's your displacement. Okay, so normal display, normal map. Look at that. So it's adding a lot more definition, and then this, and then displacement. Okay, really affecting the silhouette. All right, so you guys can see the differences, right? So pick and choose, you know, for your projects. You're probably gonna have, you're gonna need to do a combination of both, and you certainly can do a combination of both. Do a combination of height and or displacement and normal, or displacement and bump. Okay, you can also stack the normal maps, stack the bump maps if you like as well. You can do that as well. Bit of an advanced move, but honestly though, I would just change. I wouldn't do anything too fancy when it comes to stacking the normal map. You know, it doesn't mean it's there. You should always do it. That's not really the case. If you can change the look of the normal map from the raw file, which is the substance file, I would go that route. You know, I wouldn't try to hack your changes via the attribute editor just as simply as that, unless it's acceptable to an extent. Like, for example, you're just changing the strength a little bit, that's okay. But if you are trying to do some fancy things with masking and, like, you know, yeah, just change it in the raw file and it should be fine. Okay, so you guys, that's the way you connect a displacement map. That's how you generate normal maps, and that's how you can connect a bump map. Well, a bump map is actually, we didn't even cover that. But bump is simply looking for a bump 2D node, or you can use the AI bump 2D node. Okay, again, same thing, taking the out value, connecting that to the normal camera, looking for a file node. Okay, connecting the file node, and looking for, let's just say, let's go find a bump here, just for kicks. Let's use the hand low SE height for the bump. Connecting the out color of bump alpha. Bump, no, bump map. What am I doing? Well, you can actually, that would work too. But anyway, so connecting the file to the bump map 2D out to normal camera, and let's see what that looks like. That's a render. Okay. Oh, let's go ahead and do a TX convert as well. TX manager, where are you? So I think this is the height. Yep. Let's create TX for it. Should be just a quick second. And I keep pressing that. Let's go ahead and render this. So you see that there's that micro bump that we saw earlier. Okay, that's the micro bump on here. See that? So now we've got that here. So this would work because there's subdivision as well. It looks smooth and looks good. It looks like there's something going on there in the surface. Okay. So I hope that was useful for the lot of you who are gonna be using normal map, displacement, and or bump map in their scenes when you're gonna be doing your final, or maybe you're doing your portfolio pieces, or you're gonna be doing things you're gonna be rendering in Maya, etc., etc. So I hope that that was very useful. When we get back from break, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the fire hydrant. Okay, and then we're gonna start UVing that. I want to start early, and I'm gonna show you the final project, what we're gonna do, sort of like the plan for it, and what I'm expecting for the final. So by the time class 12 arrives, I expect that people will be handing it in or just almost done. You know, throwing questions my way, getting that all handed in, and then when you're ready to go, you can just bounce out of there. You know, I'm gonna do a checklist for you before you leave, all that stuff. But yeah, we're gonna cover all that when we get back from break. Is there any questions about the topic that we just talked about today about bump information and connecting the normal map, bump map, or displacement map, and how to do that properly? Nothing, huh? Okay. So yeah, I hope that was clear, you guys, because if you have any questions with regards to bump mapping, at least the introduction portion of it, you're gonna end up needing it for the final. So if you're struggling with any of the bump mapping, normal mapping, displacement maps, or height maps, you could always let me know. And if there's any issues with the exports and how you can go ahead and generate normal map and or height maps, let me know. You can, by the way, if you'd like to download XNormal, you can download XNormal. It's pretty wicked. Let me find that. So XNormal is here. Go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and paste that in the chat so you can have a look at the XNormal website. But this is XNormal right here. You're able to create your normals from here. Okay, so download the file from the mirror, and then you should be good. Another way of creating maps, you guys, is through here. If you go to, I believe it was rendering, lighting, shading, and then transfer maps, you can actually transfer, do a transfer maps in here. So you have to have your low res and your high res in the same scene. Okay, so the source mesh here will be your high res, the target mesh will be your low res. Choose the type of output map you want to create, like a displacement. Choose a format like TIFF, okay, and then you're able to create the normal map. Just change a lot of these common output settings. So this would be like 2048 by 2048, all that stuff. Medium sampling. All right. Find your place where you want to go ahead and save. So let's just say here. We'll call this hand displacement or something. Call this TIFF. Save. Don't connect map to shader. transfer in object space. You could fool around with the transfer in as well. But yeah, so that's really all you got to do. You can use your rendering, lighting setting, and then transfer maps to create maps. So you can use normal and displacement options as well. If you want to go ahead and remove the map, you can click remove map. You can check on and off the displacement map if you don't want to generate or generate that. Not generate or generate. Then you can hit bake and close. Okay, pretty intuitive transfer maps window, and you're able to generate those maps accordingly, and then use that same map to apply to the shader that you have connected to the low res. All right. Sweet. Anyway, we'll be back at 8 for those who are around and are listening.
Sounds good.
And yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about the final project.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.